Let's see. What killer do I want to do? Ah! Got it.
Congrats on getting first marks.
I'm fighting a boss, so I wasn't even a contender on that one.
Silent Death Slinger is always fun.
Okay, I just run Brute on Wraith because, yes, I like chewing through pallets. I like making dead zones. It's fun. And if you eliminate so many pallets that their scouts can't keep up, then it's even better. And then their scouts are too busy putting up pallets and not doing gens. Jack, hello. I need to take the dust jacket off of this. It's going to be annoying. Yeah, I had a migraine earlier, which is why I'm very late. Just brain thing is not great.
Hopefully the queues won't be too terrible.
Yeah, it's only a 150% bonus for Survivor, not 250%. Hey, no worries. Have fun playing Baldur's Gate and enjoy your Big Bang Theory. Have a good night. I appreciate you dropping by.
I need to finish playing Baldur's Gate.
How does that go?
Yeah.
Note just below the spout.
What was that?
You did what just below the spout?
It was TikTok. Something about frothing milk.
Oh.
With a steamer.
Ah.
Oh yeah, I'm on Killer.
You did.
I gotta throw up my big ass hashtag a few times.
I think I'll wait till some more peeps show up before I start reading. Give us a chance to thank you, Jack. And catch you later. And again, congrats on the gold dice. You did tell us about them though. Honor mode. I have a plan to do an honor mode run on stream. It'll probably take many attempts to complete, but it's gonna be really funny. So
I have yet to succeed in an honor mode run.
your eyes are drawn to my ear fluff. I don't think it's that weird. My brain always gets stuck on the little like piece of hair that like hangs over. It's like the little antenna fucking bit. And then I end up just like wiggling back and forth watching it sway across my face.
Imagine having long hair.
I don't have to imagine it.
I used to. I cut it all off. It was annoying. Me. Thank you for thanking Hero for your gifted sub. Thank you for resub. Thank you Hero for gifting it. I'll catch you later, Jack. How you doing? What's up? What's up? What's up? We're gonna read during killer cues here in a little bit. Once.
You know what's funny about gifted subs? They can be tactical now with the giveaway, because didn't you say gifted subs don't count?
Yes.
That's true, but you can pass on a gifted sub and sub yourself directly. So you can still like qualify. So I've seen people do it and I've been given the option by Twitch, so I know it's a thing. Oh, also, Mars, we'll have to make plans for the end of the day on the 20th to grab the sub list from Twitch so that we can verify the lists.
Ah, okay.
So
You'll have to tell me how to do that
yeah,
because I don't know how to grab my sub list.
yeah, it's under the monetization page. I'll show you. It's
I
easy.
believe my only sub is Neko. So
Yeah. Pretty sure. I throw my Prime at you every month. I try to.
Yeah.
Wait, my brain is not working today, so this is gonna be interesting. Probably best that I don't try to play nurse.
So I should play nurse.
Oh god.
Hello, nurse.
hello, noise.
We'll see how reading goes. I mean, I could always just start reading, and if people come in late, they come in late. Oh well. It's not that complicated of a...
I know during Killer Q's last time I was playing Binding of Isaac.
Hello,
I saw that.
nurse.
Hi.
Hello, noise. Bye, noise.
That was funny.
But I have people I can talk to, so there's not really long gaps of silence.
Ooh. If you guys want, I could just start reading to you now.
Story time.
Never mind. The
What you doing, bud?
match started, but I'll start reading after this game.
Okay.
Damn.
Because I'm trying to make room for my fiddle and make new ideas.
Okay. Make a new idea.
It would
Have
be
fun.
more appropriate if I was reading Misery while living in Missouri. But, you know.
Yeah, close enough.
Jesus Christ, the username. Ah,
Yeah.
Denson.
Oh,
that is a mood.
I saw. I don't know about that. Also,
It is definitely a feeling that I don't feel.
I was gonna say things I didn't need to know about Mars. Oh my goodness. But yeah, silent killer while the other one plays Wraith is definitely a solid game plan. Which my blankets are.
If only you had a silent bell.
That would be gross.
All of them are other place players except for Kate. That's what upsets me.
Hello, hero. Hello. Also, we're reading tonight. I should add that to the stream title.
People laugh like a clown.
Oh god, that name. Got it.
Yeah, well, I'm reading a different book. So, because Migraine, Brain Goober, and also Killer Q's are long. Although not as long as they could be. And I've already read it, so it's not going to be like...
Oh, shit. I need to get rid of Q time. Fuck. Okay, I'm good. I'm Gucci.
I thought you were Mars.
That button to my Steam Deck.
Hashtag dad jokes.
I'll kill you. Make it look like an accident.
Good luck.
It
Gotta
has to be a
fight me
bloody
first.
accident.
That was bad. It was. And I love bad jokes. They're the best.
Obviously, you live in the middle of nowhere, Kansas.
That's only 90% of Kansas.
There's a city in Kansas named Nowhere. I want to visit there one day, just so I could say I've been to the middle of nowhere, Kansas. Just like my childhood idol, Courage the Cowardly Dog.
are encouraged. The cowardly dog.
Oh god. Oh, perfect place for murder.
The middle of nowhere?
Azarov's resting place.
I'm going to go check Maine.
I'm gonna check behind Maine.
There's nobody at Maine.
Going?
Oh, there is. Hello. Oh, I completely missed that.
Oh, I thought you were gonna stick around.
Oh, no.
Yeah, because I was sending a Yunjin your way. Oh, I got her. And boop.
They were trying to search a chest over here. I heard them, and I'm like, what the fuck is that noise? I see Anita. I've got Anita.
Yeah!
Look at how many injuries we got. Nuts.
Yeah, we're doing pretty good. Very good start. They do have some decent gen progress. As long as we keep up with pressuring gens.
My strategy this time is kind of try and sit close to you so I can get use out of my stealth buff. If I'm all the way across the map, it's no help.
Good job, Ada.
Aww.
I literally wasn't going for her.
Three, 2, 1, go.
Nice. Kate and Maine, Kate and Maine. Heading to mid.
On my way.
Got her right there. She's headed your way. Nice. Yun headed to main.
I see him.
Good shit. Thank you. Oh my gosh, I'm so bad.
I saw that flick though. That was a flick.
There we go. Got it. We're pretty much dead even right now, so.
This gen is like 99. They tried to punish it in my face.
Okay.
Oh good, the foul named one is dead. I see scratch marks on the bus.
Over here, over here.
On my way.
Alright, reset his heal. We got 2 injures by me. I'm gonna try and take them both.
I'm being juiced by the bot right now.
Get him real quick.
Fucking bots and their wall hacks.
I know, right?
This is the bot's first look too.
I don't know why the Ada, who knew I was probably chasing her, decided to go for that uncage. Oh, hello. Aura, aura. Hello, Quentin. Other Quentin.
Got it.
This gen is almost done.
Shit.
I've got someone speared here.
Okay, coming.
3, 2, 1.
Dead. Perfect. I'll check back gens if you head that way.
For another injury.
This guy's dead, by the way. Perfect. Okay. Alright, everyone's on death hook. Cutting off.
Alright, I'm gonna use stealth to check this gen over here.
Yep.
No pistons are moving.
Okay, so we probably want to wait until we've got 2 downs before we start hooking these guys, or her anyway. If we can. Just try to find somebody else real quick. Because as soon as she's dead, hatch is open.
Oh, that poor gen. That gen was fucking 99, and now it's empty.
Ah, shit. Got a Quentin.
What?
Got a Quentin.
Okay, I'm gonna get the other survivor.
The problem is they can pick up.
I'm currently following the other survivor.
Okay. I guess make her burn her ability. Yeah, so she picked herself up. Since you're on the other survivor, I'm gonna go ahead and hook him. Ah, she got Thor. Here, I'll come help. Oh, never mind. You want the Mori?
You want a Mori?
Slingers is better.
If the bullet doesn't glitch out. Every time I've done the Death Slinger Mori, the bullet's just not there. The spear.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a 2v8 bug or a Death Slinger bug.
Probably a 2v8 bug, to be honest. Nice.
show off having more points than me? What the hell?
That usually comes with being a very aggressive Wraith player. Hold on, I need to dump some points into the nurse real quick. I've got over 1 mil.
I mean, can't you ready and then?
Yeah, but I
Spend
want to
more
read.
points? How dare you? How dare you?
Also, I'm just going to spend a little bit. I probably could just spend points on Wraith, but you know. Get more add-ons. Not that I need more for 2v8, but you know. Okay. Hero, are you ready for misery? If he's even paying attention, which is debatable. He's not responding, so I'm going to assume he is off doing something else, or in typical hero fashion, having like 5 streams open at once. All right, part 1. Annie, when you look into the abyss also looks into you. Chapter 1. Number 1. You're number 1 fan. These sounds, even in the haze. Chapter 2. But sometimes the sounds, like the pain, faded, and then there was only the haze. He remembered darkness, solid darkness, had come before the haze. Did that mean he was making progress? Let there be light, even of the hazy variety. And the light was good, and so on and so on. Had those sounds existed in the darkness? He didn't know the answers to any of these questions. Did it make sense to ask them? He didn't know the answer to that one either. The pain was somewhere below the sounds. The pain was east of the sun and south of his ears. That was all he did know. For some length of time, that seemed very long, and so was, since the pain and the stormy haze were the only 2 things which existed. Those sounds were the only outer reality. He had no idea who he was or where he was, and cared to know neither. He wished he was dead, but through the pain-soaked haze that filled his mind like a summer storm cloud, he did not know he wished it. As time passed, he became aware that there were periods of non-pain, and these had a cyclic quality. And for the first time since emerging from the total blackness which had prologued the haze, he had a thought which existed apart from whatever his current situation was. The thought was of a broken-off piling which had jutted from the sand at Revere Beach. His mother and father had taken him to Revere Beach often when he was a kid, and he had always insisted that they spread their blanket where he could keep an eye on that piling, which looked to him like the single jutting fang of a buried monster. He liked to sit and watch the water come up until it covered the piling. Then, hours later, after the sandwiches and potato salad had been eaten, after the last few drops of Kool-Aid had been coaxed from his father's big thermos, just before his mother said it was time to pack up and start home, the top of the rotted piling would begin to show again. Just a peak and flash between the incoming waves at first, then more and more. By the time their trash was stashed in the big drum with "Keep Your Beach Clean" stenciled on the side, Polly's Beach Toys picked up. That's my name. Polly. I'm Polly, and tonight, Maul put Johnson's baby oil on my sunburn, he thought inside the thunderhead where he now lived. And the blanket folded again, The piling had almost wholly reappeared, its blackish, slime-smooth sides surrounded by sudsy scuds of foam. It was the tide, his father had tried to explain, but he had always known it was the piling. The tide came and went, the piling stayed. It was just that sometimes you couldn't see it. Without the piling, there was no tide. Here, Twitch logged you out. That's funny. This memory circled and circled, maddening, like a sluggish fly. He groped for whatever it might mean, but for a long time, the sounds interrupted. They and read everything. Number 1. Sometimes the sounds stopped. Sometimes he stopped. His first really clear memory of this now, the now inside the storm haze, was of stopping, of being suddenly aware he just couldn't pull another breath, and that was all right. That was good. That was, in fact, just peachy keen. He could take a certain level of pain, but enough was enough, and he was glad to be getting out of the game. Then there was a mouth clamped over his, a mouth which was unmistakably a woman's mouth in spite of its hard, spitless lips, and the wind from this woman's mouth blew into his own mouth and down his throat, puffing his lungs. When the lips were pulled back, he smelled his warder for the first time, smelled her on the outrush of the breath she had forced into him the way a man might force a part of himself into an unwilling woman. A dreadful mixed stench of vanilla cookies and chocolate ice cream and chicken gravy and peanut butter fudge. He heard a voice screaming, "Breathe, goddammit, breathe, Paul!" The lips clamped down again. The breath blew down his throat again, blew down it like the dank suck of a wind which follows a fast subway train, pulling sheets of newspaper and candy wrappers after it. And the lips were withdrawn, and he thought, for Christ's sake, don't let any of it out through your nose. But he couldn't help it, and oh, that stink, that fucking stink. Breathe, goddamn you, the unseen voice shrieked, and he thought, I will anything. Please just don't do that anymore. Don't infect me anymore. And he tried, but before he could really get started, her lips were clamped over his again. Lips as dry and dead as strips of salted leather. And she raped him full of her air again. When she took her lips away this time, he did not let her breath out, but pushed it out and whooped in a gigantic breath of his own. Shoved it out, waited for his unseen chest to go up again on its own, as it had been doing for his whole life without any help from him. When it didn't, he gave another gigantic whooping gasp, and then he was breathing again on his own and doing it as fast as he could to flush the smell and taste of her out of him. Normal air had never tasted so fine. He began to fade back into the haze again, but before the dimming world had gone entirely, he heard the woman's voice mutter, "Whew, that was a close one." Not close enough, he thought, and fell asleep. He dreamed of the piling, so real he felt he could almost reach out and slide his palm over its green-black fissured curve. When he came back to his former state of semi-consciousness, he was able to make the connection between the piling and his current situation. It seemed to float into his hand. The pain wasn't tidal. That was the lesson of the dream, which was really a memory. The pain only appeared to come and go. The pain was like the piling, sometimes covered and sometimes visible, but always there. When the pain wasn't harrying him through the deep stone grayness of his cloud, he was dumbly grateful, but he was no longer fooled. It was still there, waiting to return. And there was not just one piling, but two. The pain was the pilings, and part of him knew for a long time before most of his mind had knowledge of knowing that the shattered pilings were his own shattered legs. But it was still a long time before he was able to break the dried scum of saliva that had glued his lips together and croak out, "Where am I?" to the woman who sat by his bed. With a book in her hands, the name of the man who had written the book was Paul Sheldon. He recognized it as his own with no surprise. "Sidewinder, Colorado," she said when he was finally able to ask the question. "My name is Annie Wilkes, and I am..." "I know," he said. "You're my #1 fan." "Yes," she said, smiling. "That's just what I am." And we'll stop there, because we have a match. We'll continue on. Next.
That was an interesting thing.
I know. It's a very interesting opening.
Also, be on the lookout for double heals. They've got 4 medics.
Okay.
Well, you were
I'm
reading
gonna
that,
go.
I managed to kill the world that I've been stuck on.
Nice. All right, Shaq's gonna get done. But I should be able to get an injure out of it.
Three, 2, 1.
Beautiful.
They're back in this corner on this gen. Yep.
Yep. They're healing behind Shaq. I didn't think I was close enough. Oh well. Fucking hell, dude.
Oh, Jen cucked me.
She died to flashlight greed.
They are rushing these gens.
Yep.
I'm getting injured.
Holy shit, dude. That was such a fast pickup. Well,
Sounds like main has some progress. I'll go check it out.
there's a whole bunch of them back here. Fucking rats.
I'm on my way.
Got one here. There we go.
Oh. I've got somebody speared.
I'm chasing somebody in main. Just go ahead and whap them.
Okay.
Yes. I know someone's got a flashlight, but they haven't made any attempts so
Right
far. Okay. Got her.
I'll go pick her up.
Oh. Jen's almost done. No one here. Oh, there we go.
How the fuck?
Sorry.
Oh, it's the same Michaela. Come here, Michaela.
Oh my goodness, game. I got fucking auto-aimed.
I feel like we're doing pretty good.
Starting to catch up. Never mind.
Never mind. They're on main. I'm gonna go check out main after I down this person.
Okay, good. She's dead. Yeah, they've got a couple gens that are really far along.
I don't know why I had chase music. I think
Yeah.
somebody tried to do a flashlight save.
Could be. I'm gonna go check that gen they had almost done. Okay, it's almost dead. Good. The gen regression that we get is such a godsend, dude. She screwed that up. They're starting to suffer from lack of scouts.
Yeah. They should have had 2 scouts.
Yeah.
I don't think they had any sprint bursters.
This
Giving
Kate
up.
is a scout. She just knew I had her. I guess it's hatch hunting time.
Good game.
Running into main.
Yep, I see. There we go. Nice.
That's what you do when you miss the Mori prompt.
I helped.
You sure did bring their bong.
Yay. They did have 2 scouts. They just weren't putting up the right pallets, I guess.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, I guess one of the medics switched to a sprint burst last second because they did have 4 medics.
yeah, even then their heals were nutty, but like they were just not keeping up with the right pallets. That's one of the biggest downsides is not because of how many pallets there are, people just throw them constantly.
Like, throw.
They don't try to play around them. I think that's why I last as long as I do when I play Survivor is I actually play around the pallets and don't just insta throw them every time. So.
I am a little bit peckish, so I'm gonna go make me some food while we're waiting for queue time.
Okay.
Oh, fuck.
Yes, Hero, more reading. I just wanted to spend a little bit of points. All right. Continuing on. Chapter 3. Darkness, then the pain and the haze. Then the awareness that although the pain was constant, it didn't... Oh, yeah. I forget. This guy repeats himself a lot. Then the awareness that although the pain was constant, it was sometimes buried by an uneasy compromise which he supposed was relief. The first real memory, stopping and being raped back into life by the woman's stinking breath. The next real memory, her fingers pushing something into his mouth at regular intervals. Something like contact capsules, only since there was no water, they only sat in his mouth, and when they melted, there was an incredibly bitter taste that was a little like the taste of aspirin. It would have been good to spit that bitter taste out, but he knew better than to do it, because it was that bitter taste which brought the high tide in over the piling. Pilings, it's pilings. There are two. Okay, there are two. Fine, now just hush. Just, hush. And made it seem gone for a while. These things all came at widely spaced intervals. But then, as the pain itself began not to recede but to erode, as that Revere Beach piling must itself have eroded, he thought, because nothing is forever, although the child he had been would have scoffed at such heresy. Outside things began to impinge more rapidly until the objective world, with all its freight of memory, experience, and prejudice, had pretty much reestablished itself. He was Paul Sheldon, who wrote novels of two kinds, good ones and bestsellers. He had been married and divorced twice. He smoked too much, or had before all this, whatever all this was. Something very bad had happened to him, but he was still alive. That dark gray cloud began to dissipate faster and faster. It would be yet a while before his number one fan brought him the old clacking royal with the grinning, gapped mouth and the Ducky Daddles voice, but Paul understood long before then that he was in a hell of a jam. Mars! Oh my goodness. Chapter 4. The prescient part of his mind saw her before he knew he was seeing her, and must surely have understood her before he knew he was understanding her. Why else did he associate such dour, ominous images with her? Whenever she came into the room, he thought of the graven images worshipped by the superstitious African tribes in the novels of H. Rider Haggard and Stones and Doom. The image of Annie Wilkes as an African idol out of She or King Solomon's Mines was both ludicrous and queerly apt. She was a big woman who, other than the large but unwelcoming swell of her bosom under the gray cardigan sweater she always wore, seemed to have no feminine curves at all. There was no defined roundness of hip or buttock or even calf below the endless succession of wool skirts she wore in the house. She retired to her unseen bedroom to put on jeans before doing her outside chores. Her body was big but not generous. There was a feeling about her of plots and roadblocks rather than welcoming orifices or even open spaces, areas of hiatus. Most of all, she gave him a disturbing sense of solidity, as if she might not have any blood vessels or even internal organs, as if she might be only solid Annie Wilkes from side to side and top to bottom. He felt more and more convinced that her eyes, which appeared to move, were actually just painted on, and they moved no more than the eyes of portraits which appear to follow you to wherever you move in the room, where they hang. It seemed to him that if he made the first two fingers of his hand into a V and attempted to poke them up her nostrils, they might go less than 1/8 of an inch before encountering a solid, if slightly yielding, obstruction. That even her gray cardigan and frumpy house skirts and faded outside work jeans were part of that solid, fibrous, unchanneled body. So his feeling that she was like an idol in a perfervid novel was not really surprising at all. Like an idol, she gave only one thing, a feeling of unease, deepening steadily toward terror. Like an idol, she took everything else. No, wait, that wasn't quite fair. She did give something else. She gave him the pills that brought the tide in over the pilings. The pills were the tide. Annie Wilkes was the lunar presence, and Cat stopped trying to walk on the book.
I think that was in the book.
She literally put her paw in the middle of the page. I know, you were so desperate for attention.
My cat just tackled down our little Christmas tree we just put up.
That
My
sounds
cat
like a
just
cat.
came to sit on my lap to lay her head on the armchair.
Wait.
Arm of the chair.
Please,
And now we have the cat status update.
please.
No, my other one is asleep. Yep, on his hammock.
So apparently the paw was a precursor to her trying to loaf on the book, as she is currently attempting. Because I have both my hands on the book, and I am holding her up with the book.
Like, oh, you're not busy, are you?
Nah.
Dia. Thank you. She decided loafing on my other leg was a better option than loafing on a book that is precariously held up. The pills were the tide. Annie Wilkes was the lunar presence which pulled them into his mouth like jetsam on a wave. She brought him 2 every 6 hours, first announcing her presence only as a pair of fingers poking into his mouth, and soon enough he learned to suck eagerly at those poking fingers in spite of the bitter taste. Later appearing in her cardigan sweater and one of her half-dozen skirts, usually with a paperback copy of one of his novels tucked under her arm. That night she appeared to him in a fuzzy pink robe, her face shiny with some sort of cream. He could have named the main ingredient easily enough, even though he had never seen the bottle from which she tipped it. The sheepy smell of the lanolin was strong and proclamatory. Shaking him out of his frowsy, dream-thick sleep with the pills nestled in her hand and the proxy moon nestled in the window over one of her solid shoulders. After a while, after his alarm had become too great to be ignored, he was able to find out what she was feeding him. It was a painkiller with a heavy codeine base called Novril. The reason she had to bring him the bedpan so infrequently was not only because he was on a diet consisting entirely of liquids and gelatins. Earlier, when he was in the cloud, she had fed him intravenously, but also because Novril had a tendency to cause constipation in patients taking it. Another side effect, a rather more serious one, was respiratory depression in sensitive patients. Paul was not particularly sensitive, even though he had been a heavy smoker for nearly 18 years, but his breathing had stopped nonetheless on at least one occasion. There might have been others in the haze that he did not remember. That was the time she gave him mouth-to-mouth. It might have just been one of those things which happened, but he later came to suspect she had nearly killed him with an accidental overdose. She didn't know much about what she was doing as she believed she did. That was only one of the things about Annie that scared him. He discovered 3 things almost simultaneously, about 10 days after having emerged from the dark cloud. The first was that Annie Wilkes had a great deal of Novril. She had, in fact, a great many drugs of all kinds. The second was that he was hooked on Novril. The third was that Annie Wilkes was dangerously crazy. We'll go chapter 5. Gonna be it. The chapters are indeed going to get longer. They're going to be like a page and a bit in the future.
I say those chapters felt really small.
They were. It's just to basically indicate like how his mind is processing time.
Fuck you. You're the author semantic things. I hate that.
I
hate
understand literature. It's the chapter 1, just the bare presence of her talking to him while he's mostly unconscious, and then suddenly he's aware of kind of being unconscious and what that like existence is like, and then
Also, I apologize for the first 2 games. I forgot I was supposed to match skins with you.
okay.
I've got a feeling that they're over here.
I've got 3 on this side.
Okay, I'm on my way.
No crouchy Leon. Okay, Leon's one of their scouts.
There's 3 in main.
Okay. Got an easy down on Leon. I'll head over to main after this.
Oh, I missed. There should be 2 on that gen in main, if they were brave enough to go back. It looks like they were.
Yeah, I figured they were gonna get it done, so I didn't want to. Re-injure, perfect.
There's a gen almost done behind me.
Damn. Oh, Jesus, they're not getting hen cages. Yeah, I think this match is gonna be over faster than we think.
I've got 2 injuries by shot. One was just uncaged.
En route.
Oh, Jesus, you scared the fuck out of me. I just saw your stealthy ass shadow.
Ooh, lag spike.
I see you. You should have thrown the link.
Right.
So why does Leon get to be played, but you can't play as the Resident Evil skin for Blight?
What do you mean?
It won't let you play it in this mode. 'Cause
That's
it's a
weird.
licensed skin.
That's really weird. Good job, Joe. I mean, they're not doing too bad. Not doing great here.
They're not doing bad, but they're not doing good either.
Yeah. That beginning was so rough for them. But they're gonna have gen speed on their side now.
Main get done? Oh no, they're on this gen back here. I gotta get closer to you to get undetectable. Alright, I'm undetectable. I'm going back to this gen over here. Hello! Go mend.
Oh, I didn't think she was gonna throw it.
I need to stop leading my shot so much. You can shoot through that lane. Hello, first hook, Zach Kennedy. They're exploding gens over here.
Man, her pathing is wacky.
Shack
But
is
she's
good.
still dead. Oh, she was freshly uncaged. I was like, man, she is being very brazen. Oh my goodness. There we go. Yeah, it was at the very last frame of the swing. I know, right? Fucking auto aim, dude.
We're just throwing the pallet.
Right.
Yes, I may be taller than the loop, but god damn. I was just there. Was that Shack? That was
No.
Shack.
No. Yes.
Maybe.
So you've got two, I see. Ooh, I almost had Sable. Sable's gonna run me at Shack.
I'll come help take her down. We can let Jill have her hatch chance.
don't need
Oh,
to.
never mind. Nice. I will go hatch hunting.
It was still undetectable, so she didn't know where I was coming from. No, I didn't hear that.
Found it.
I mean,
Nice.
that's our second escape of the night, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. They had three. No, they had all four people on gens, so they didn't really have, healers or chasers. Not a lot of aura either, with only 2 scouts. Plus, you're undetectable and my undetectable. It's a really lethal combo. But yeah, you'll just have to call out if I'm not close enough when you need to refresh on your undetectable. Because I don't know the timing on it. Because obviously I'm not going to run it.
You pretty much get undetectable when I hit somebody, so I
Yeah.
can call that out more.
No, it's okay. I don't fuss about it too much. Because I stay cloaked most of the time anyway.
I'm tempted to switch it up and play a different killer, but I like Death Slinger, damn it. And I know as soon as I get off him, I'm going to get stomped into the ground.
Hey, it's a fun combo.
Hey, at least we're not doing the Death Slinger Hillbilly combo.
Oh, God.
What? They should probably select one of the fucking challenges.
Yeah. I think I have all of the challenges done. Yeah, the only thing I'm missing is things that have to be done in the main game mode, so I'm doing it later. Once we no longer have 2v8. I wanna...
Yeah, I'm done with the current tome. I haven't got the 2v8 challenges done.
Yeah, and I'm the other way around. I have all the 2v8 challenges done, but I'm not done with the current tome. Alright, chapter 5. The darkness had prologued the pain and the storm cloud. He began to remember what had prologued the darkness as she told him what had happened to him. This was shortly after he had asked the traditional "when the sleeper wakes" question, and she had told him he was in the little town of Sidewinder, Colorado. In addition, she told him that she had read each of his 8 novels at least twice, and had read her very favorites, the Misery novels, 4, 5, maybe 6 times. He only wished he would write them faster. She said she had hardly been able to believe that her patient was really that Paul Sheldon, even after checking the ID in his wallet. "Where is my wallet, by the way?" he asked. "I've kept it safe for you," she said. Her smile suddenly collapsed into a narrow watchfulness he didn't like much. It was like discovering a deep crevasse, almost obscured by summer flowers in the midst of a smiling, jocund meadow. "Did you think I'd steal something out of it?" "No, of course not. It's just the rest of my life, isn't it?" he thought. "My life outside of this room, outside of the pain, outside the way time seems to stretch out like the long pink string of bubblegum a kid pulls out of his mouth when he's bored. Because that's how it is in the last hour or so before the pills come." "Just what, Mr. Man?" she persisted. And he saw with alarm that the narrow look was growing blacker and blacker. The crevasse was spreading as if an earthquake was going on behind her brow. He could hear the steady, keen whine of the wind outside, and he had a sudden image of her picking him up and throwing him over her shoulder, where he would lie like a burlap sack slung over a stone wall, and taking him outside and heaving him into the snowdrift. He would freeze to death, but before he did, his legs would throb and scream. "It's just that my father always told me to keep an eye on my wallet," he said, astonished by how easily this lie came out. His father had made a career out of not noticing Paul any more than he absolutely had to, and had, so far as Paul could remember, offered him only a single piece of advice in his entire life. On Paul's 14th birthday, his father had given him a red devil condom in a foil envelope. "Put that in your wallet," Roger Sheldon said. "And if you ever get excited while you're making out at the drive-in, take a second between excited enough to want to and too excited to care and slip that on. Too many bastards in the world already, and I don't want to see you going in the army at 16. Now, Paul went on. "I guess he told me to keep my eye on my wallet so many times that it's stuck inside for good. If I offended you, I'm truly sorry." She relaxed, smiled. The crevasse closed. Summer flowers nodded cheerfully once again. He thought of pushing his hand through that smile and encountering nothing but flexible darkness. "No offense taken. It's in a safe place. Wait, I've got something for you." Birthday week is 14th to the 21st. And you don't need to buy me a birthday present, but it's always appreciated. Me looking up at chat very periodically.
Jeez, that's a really weird thing for them to write in that book.
Listen, you don't tell me what to do, okay? I like to give people birthday gifts. And you helped me out a lot. So, probably gonna get one.
I do my best to, Mars. She left and returned with a steaming bowl of soup. There were vegetables floating in it. He was not able to eat much, but he ate more than he thought at first he could. She seemed pleased. It was while he ate the soup that she told him what had happened, and he remembered it all as she told him, and he supposed it was good to know how you happened to end up with your legs shattered, but the manner by which he was coming to this knowledge was disquieting. It was as if he was a character in his story or a play, a character whose history is not recounted like history, but created like fiction. She had gone into Sidewinder in the 4-wheel drive to get feed for the livestock and a few groceries. Also to check out the paperbacks at Wilson's Drug Center. That had been the Wednesday that was almost 2 weeks ago now. And the new paperbacks always came in on Tuesday. "I was actually thinking of you," she said, spooning soup into his mouth and then professionally wiping away a dribble from the corner with a napkin. "That's what makes it such a remarkable coincidence, don't you see? I was hoping Misery's Child would finally be out in paperback. But no such luck. A storm had been on the way," she said, but until noon that day, the weather forecasters had been confidently claiming it would veer south toward New Mexico and the Sangre of Christos. I have no idea how to say it. Anyway. "Yes," he said, remembering as he said it. "They said it would turn. That's why I went in the first place." He tried to shift his legs. The result was an awful bolt of pain, and he groaned. "Don't do that," she said. "If you get those legs of yours talking, Paul, they won't shut up, and I can't give you any more pills for 2 hours. I'm giving you too much as is." "Why aren't I in the hospital?" This was clearly the question that wanted asking, but he wasn't sure it was a question either of them wanted asked. Not yet, anyway. When I got to the feed store, Tony Roberts told me I'd better step on it if I was going to get back here before the storm hit, and I said, "How far are we from this town?" he asked. "Always," she said vaguely, looking off toward the window. There was a queer interval of silence, and Paul was frightened by what he saw on her face, because what he saw was nothing. The black nothing of a crevasse folded in an alpine meadow, a blackness where no flowers grew and into which the drop might belong. It was the face of a woman who has come momentarily untethered from all the vital positions and landmarks of her life. A woman who has forgotten not only the memory she was in the process of recounting, but memory itself. She had once toured a mental asylum. This was years ago when he had been researching Misery, the first of the 4 books, which had been his main source of income over the last 8 years, and he had seen this look, or more precisely, this unlook. The word which defined it was catatonia, but what frightened him was no such precise word. It was rather a vague comparison. In that moment, he thought that her thoughts had become much as he imagined her physical self, solid, fibrous, unchanneled, with no places of hiatus. Then, slowly, her face cleared. Thoughts seemed to flow back into it. Then he realized flowing was just a tiny bit wrong. She wasn't filling up like a pond or a tidal pool. She was warming up. Yes, she's warming up, like some small electrical gadget, a toaster or maybe a heating pad. I said to Tony, "That storm is going south." She spoke slowly at first, almost groggily. Then her words began to catch up to a normal cadence and to fill with normal conversational brightness. But now he was alerted. Everything she said was a little strange, a little offbeat. Listening to Annie was like listening to a song played in the wrong key. But he said, "It's changed its mind." "Oh, poop," I said. "I better get on my horse and ride." "I'd stay out of town if you can, Ms. Wilkes," he said. "Now they're saying on the radio that it's going to be a proper geezer and nobody is prepared." But of course, I had to get back. There's no one to feed the animals but me. The nearest people are the Roidmans, and they are miles from here. Besides, the Roidmans don't like me. She cast an eye shrewdly on him as she said this last, and when he didn't reply, she tapped the spoon against the brim of the bowl in peremptory fashion. "Done?" "Yes, I'm full, thanks. It was very good. You have a lot of livestock?" Because, he was already thinking, if you do, that means you've got to have some help. A hired man, at least. Help was the operant word. Already that seemed like the operant word. He had seen she wore no wedding ring. "Not very much," she said. "Half a dozen laying hens, 2 cows, and Misery." He blinked. She laughed. "You won't think I'm very nice, naming a sow after the brave and beautiful woman you made up. But that's her name, and I meant no disrespect." After a moment of thought, she added, "She's very friendly." The woman wrinkled up her nose, and for a moment, she became a sow, even down to the few bristly whiskers that grew on her chin. Paul looked at her wide-eyed. She did not notice. "Oh, Jesus, cat, why?"
Good timing, right?
Well, I was trying.
Always have excellent timing.
I was trying to put the book away, and then suddenly there was a cat on it.
Someone's in chat.
I've got someone on a chest here.
You're undetectable. What was the point of that? I've got so many people here at Shack.
All right, I'm coming to help.
I'm undetectable.
Kate is just... The other
You're
Kate is
undetectable.
eating pallets. This Kate I'm chasing pre-yeets like crazy. I'm gonna try and clear out as many pallets as I can with her. Okay, I got rid of 4 in the middle, so if you push people towards center, it's gonna be really, really weak for survivors.
Yeah, I saw you through the window, dog. Make sure there's no one else here.
Head into that explosion.
Okay, I'm trying to get close to you because Actually, I'm gonna be an asshole and go for the uncaged because I saw them get uncaged.
Kate was trying to be cheeky, but in a really dumb way that doesn't work with Wraith Lunge. Yeah, that should be close enough for your undetectable.
I don't get it because I hit somebody.
Got someone here.
Okay,
Scribbers.
on my way.
There he is. If you see somebody closer, feel free. He's going to shack. I'm gonna run through shack and try to push him through the other side. Good shit.
I'm getting body blocked. They did it terribly.
Okay, I'll go.
You're undetectable.
Okay, I'll pressure.
I don't know how long the undetectable lasts. Isn't it like 5 seconds?
Yeah, it's already gone. Not sure why she's teabagging me, but whatever. Ooh, lag.
Yeah, it's lagging up really bad.
Good shit. Oof. What?
Teabag all you want.
150 ping. Yeah, this is gonna be rough.
We haven't checked the other side of the map in a while. I'm going over here.
And log pile. There's 2.
Yep. I'm undetectable. Almost.
I'll leave her to you. I'm gonna pressure another.
Okay.
Oof, the lag. Oh
This lag is
my
not-
god. I hate it. Hell yeah.
Who's the king person?
Who's the what?
David King? Identity.
Oh my god, this Ada looks so gruff. Oh yeah, that was so bad. She kind of gave up. So I'm just... Oh. Nice.
I don't know what their plan was.
Who's to say? They're in the back. Oof, lag, dude.
I haven't seen this David King.
I think I have. There we go. He is a sprint burster, though. Murder, indeed, Link, murder. Ooh, hello.
There's David. I'm coming for you, you laggy EOS.
I'll come help.
I've got him speared.
Oh my god, there's no way, dude. There we go.
I feel like Shaq should be our next target.
Already here. Yep.
I guess we've seen David twice.
Yeah, I think he was my first down at the beginning. Okay.
I was like, why are you staring at a wall?
I was busy killing someone. Okay.
Sweet, sweet, undetectable. Oh, there's the cage.
Yep.
I see someone running up to uncage, I think. Where the hell are they? I saw them. Hi, Leon. You're undetectable. I see scratch marks.
Oh, hell yeah. Heading to the uncage, looks like.
I see them. Oh, I see the injured person. The injured person's behind the hill.
Yeah, I'm on.
Are you going for the healthy person?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll go for the injured person then.
Oh my god, the lag, dude. She's very clicky.
Hatches are now open.
Okay.
I see his scratch marks. Never mind, he's gone.
Bye bye.
He's
I
out
decided it's
here.
time for sleep. Oh no. Have a good night, hero. Feel free to listen in while we read.
Were they the one who lived? No, they weren't. We got told GG's by the other streamer.
Ah, nice.
Well, one of the other streamers.
I have endgame chat turned off specifically because people get weird.
I don't mind the weirdness.
I just find that I have a lot more positive interactions and feel better about the game in general when I don't have it on.
Why does it take so long to return to lobby? What the hell is going on?
I don't know.
Oh, they were a 4-man of Kates.
Oh.
I didn't even notice there were that many Kates in our lobby.
Me neither. Paul looked at her wide-eyed. She did not notice. She had gone away again, her gaze dim and musing. Her eyes held no reflection but the lamp on the bed table, twice reflected, dwelling faintly in each. At last she gave a faint start and said, I got about 5 miles and then the snow started. It came fast. Once it starts up here, it always does. I came creeping along with my lights on, then I saw your car off the road, overturned. She looked at him disapprovingly. You didn't have your lights on. It took me by surprise, he said, remembering only that moment how he had been taken by surprise. He did not yet remember that he had also been quite drunk. I stopped, she said. If it had been on an upgrade, I might not have. Not very Christian, I know, but there were 3 inches on the road already, and even with a 4-wheel drive, you can't be sure of getting going again once you lose your forward motion. It's easier to just say to yourself, oh, they probably got out, caught a ride, etc., etc. But it was on top of the third big hill past the Roidmans, and it's flat there for a while, so I pulled over. And as soon as I got out, I heard groaning. That was you, Paul. She gave him a strange maternal grin. For the first time, clearly, the thought surfaced in Paul Sheldon's mind. I am in trouble here. This woman is not right. Chapter 6. She sat beside him where he lay in what might have been a spare bedroom for the next 20 minutes or so and talked. As his body used the soup, the pain in his legs reawakened. He willed himself to concentrate on what she was saying, but was not entirely able to succeed. His mind had bifurcated. On one side, he was listening to her tell how she had dragged him from the wreckage of his '74 Camaro. That was on the side where the pain throbbed and ached like a couple of old splintered pilings beginning to wink and flash between the heaves of the withdrawing tide. On the other, he could see himself at the Boulderado Hotel finishing his new novel, which did not, thank God for small favors, feature Misery Chastain. There were all sorts of reasons for him not to write about misery, but one loomed above the rest, ironclad and unshakable. Misery, thank God for large favors, was finally dead. She had died 5 pages from the end of Misery's Child. Not a dry eye in the house when that had happened, including Paul's own. Only the fume falling from his ocularies had been the result of hysterical laughter. Finishing the new book, a contemporary novel about a car thief, he had remembered typing the final sentence of Misery's Child. So Ian and Jeffrey left the little Dunthorpe churchyard together, supporting themselves in their sorrow, determined to find their lives again. While riding the slide, he had been giggling so madly it had been hard to strike the correct keys. He had to go back several times. Thank God for good old IBM correct tape. He had written the end below and then had gone capering about the room, the same room in the Boulderado Hotel, and screaming, free at last, great God Almighty, I'm free at last. The silly bitch finally bought the farm. The new novel was called Fast Cars, and he hadn't laughed when it was done. He just sat there in front of the typewriter for a moment, thinking, you may have just won next year's American Book Award, my friend. And then he had picked up. A little bruise on your right temple, but that didn't look like anything. It was your legs. I could see right away, even when the light's starting to fade, that your legs weren't. The telephone had called room service, called for a bottle of Dom Perignon, and he remembered waiting for it to come. Walking back and forth in the room where he had finished all his books since 1974, he remembered tipping the waiter with a $50 bill and asked him if he had heard a weather forecast. He remembered the pleased, flustered, grinning waiter telling him that the storm currently heading their way was supposed to slide off to the south, toward New Mexico. He remembered the chill feel of the bottle, the discreet sound of the cork as he eased it free. He remembered the dry, acidic taste of the first glass and opening his travel bag and looking at his plane ticket to New York. He remembered suddenly, at the spur of the moment, deciding that I better get you home right away. It was a struggle getting you to the truck, but I'm a big woman, as you may have noticed, and I had a pile of blankets in the back. Got you in and wrapped you up, and even then, with the light fading and all, I thought you looked familiar. I thought maybe he would get the old Camaro out of the parking garage and just drive west instead of getting on the plane. What the hell was there in New York anyway? A townhouse, empty, bleak, unwelcoming, possibly burgled. Screw it, he thought, drinking more champagne. Go west, young man, go west. The idea had been crazy enough to make sense. Take nothing but a change of clothes and his bag I found. I put that in too. There wasn't anything else I could see, and I was scared you might die on me or something, so I fired up old Bessie and got your manuscript of Fast Cars and hit the road to Vegas, Reno, or maybe even the City of the Angels. He remembered the idea had also seemed a bit silly at first. A trip the kid of 24 he had been when he had sold his first novel might have taken, but not one for a man 2 years past his 40th birthday. A few more glasses of champagne, and the idea no longer seemed silly at all. It seemed, in fact, almost noble. A kind of grand odyssey to somewhere. A way to reacquaint himself with reality after the fictional terrain of the novel. So he had gone. Out like a light. I was sure you were going to die. I mean, I was sure. So I slipped your wallet out of your back pocket, and I looked at your driver's license, and I saw the name, Paul Sheldon, and I thought, oh, that must be a coincidence. But the picture on the license also looked like you. And then I got so scared I had to sit down at the kitchen table. I thought at first I was going to faint. After a while, I started thinking maybe the picture was just a coincidence too. Those driver's license photos really don't look like anybody. Then I found your Writers Guild card, the one from Penn, and I knew you were in trouble when the snow started coming down. But long before that, he had stopped in the Boulderado bar and tipped George $20 to provide him with a second bottle of Dom. And he had drunk it rolling up I-70 into the Rockies into the sky the color of gunmetal. And somewhere east of the Eisenhower Tunnel, he had diverted from the turnpike because the roads were bare and dry. The storm was sliding off to the south. What the hey? And also the goddamn tunnel made him nervous. He had been playing an old Bo Diddley tape on the cassette machine under the dash and never turned on the radio until the Camaro started to seriously slip and slide, and he began to realize that this wasn't just a passing upcountry flurry, but the real thing. The storm was maybe not sliding off to the south after all. The storm was maybe coming right at him, and he was maybe in a bucket of trouble. The way you are in trouble now. But he had been just drunk enough to think he could drive his way out of it. So instead of stopping in Kenna and inquiring about shelter, he had driven on. He could remember the afternoon turning into a dull gray chromium lens. He could remember the champagne beginning to wear off. He could remember leaning forward to get his cigarettes off the dashboard, and that was when the last skid began, and he tried to ride it out, but it kept getting worse. He could remember a heavy, dull thump, and the world's upside down. The world's up and down had swapped places. He had screamed, and then I heard you screaming. I knew that you would live. Dying men rarely scream. They haven't the energy. I know. I decided I would make you live, so I got some of my pain medication and made you take it. Then you went to sleep. When you woke up and started to scream again, I gave you some more. You ran a fever for a while, but I knocked that out too. I gave you Keflex. You had 1 or 2 close calls, but that's all over now, I promise. She got up, and now it's time you rested, Paul. You've got to get your strength back. My legs hurt. Yes, I'm sure they do. In an hour you can have some medication. Now, please. It shamed him to beg, but he couldn't help it. The tide had gone out, and the splintered pilings stood bare, jaggedly real, things which neither could be avoided nor dealt with. In an hour. Firmly. She moved toward the door with the spoon and soup bowl in one hand. Wait. She turned back and looked at him with an expression both stern and loving. He did not like the expression, didn't like it at all. 2 weeks since you pulled me out? She looked vague again, and annoyed. He would come to know that her grasp of time was not good. Something like that. I was unconscious almost all the time. What did I eat? She considered him. IV, she said briefly. IV, he said, and she mistook his stunned surprise for ignorance. I fed you intravenously, she said, through tubes. That's what those marks on your arm are. She looked at him with eyes that were suddenly flat and considering. You owe me your life, Paul. I hope you'll remember that. I hope you'll keep that in mind. Then she left. And then we'll get into chapter 7.
How many chapters are there?
I don't know. Go to the back. It is hard to say because the book is split up into 4 parts, and each part has their own number of chapters. We are on page 17 of 310.
Oh boy, so you're gonna read the whole thing on stream?
I can try. It won't be tonight. No, wait, we're getting through all of it tonight. It's already been an hour and a half, and I am 17 pages in.
That sounds like quitter talk.
I am not staying up and reading for like 18 hours.
I see scratch marks. I don't know what that place is called.
Hell yeah.
That should have been a grab. You're undetectable.
Okay. Yeah, Meg tried to Loris tech me and it didn't work.
Get down from there.
Damn, should have had that. Oh my gosh.
They're trying to do main.
The one I just kicked also had a ton of progress. Oh my gosh.
They've got a lot of progress on me. I'm gonna tell them to stop it.
Okay.
I didn't kick it. I focused on the down.
Yeah, no worries. I'll go kick it. I'm gonna go get this injured guy. Damn.
They're generous and their ass is up. What the fuck?
Jake's gonna be second, so we can get him out if we want.
I gotta go to bed, guys.
Alright,
They've
have a
got
good
progress
night.
on so many fucking gens.
Yeah.
Good night.
Nah.
I'd check main again. Yeah, they're on main again. I'm on it. They almost got it done.
Nice. Oh my gosh, I hate not being able to swing out a cloak sometimes. It's so frustrating. You should get her though. Here we go.
I'm going back to main because they're probably already back up on it.
Yeah.
No, they're not yet.
Okay, that's good. Okay, we caught back up.
You got him?
Yep.
They got main done.
Okay, he's dead though.
Jesus Christ. These guys are generous and fools. They're on hill gen.
Okay.
No, they're not. I lied. I'm a dirty liar. There's a lot over it, though. Should have some more words.
Okay. I'll get her. Oh, never mind. You got her. Cool. Shit. Got one over here. Oh, here we go.
Nice try. Someone tried to flashlight save.
There we go. Okay, looking better, looking better.
That was the person who tried to flashlight save.
Ah,
Is the gen almost finished over here? I see it.
damn.
That's not the gen.
Yep, all right.
I'm gonna proxy camp this gen for a bit.
Y'all check between the others.
This person's just trying to lead me away from that gen.
I'll chase her.
Yep. She's a medic. She doesn't leave scratch marks. I'm gonna go check that gen again. Holy shit. When did we get down to 2 people?
We've been very aggressively downing people. Got one. Basically, we were getting a lot of people to second hook, but not finishing the kill.
I
But
see scratch marks.
okay. Yep, went for the
She
save.
ran past the hatch.
He pointed her towards it. I'm gonna chase her.
Okay.
I don't hear any hatch.
Yeah, I closed the hatch she pointed him at.
Here, I'll hook her. You can kill him.
Yep. That was a turnaround for sure.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Oh my
That was
goodness.
very stressful.
Yeah, but we got it. Oh man. What a match.
Woo!
Oh gosh.
I thought we were gonna lose at least 2 people.
Yeah, they got a little too gen happy though. They weren't focused on keeping themselves alive. They didn't realize how quickly the tide can turn. Chapter 7. The hour passed. Somehow, and finally, The hour passed. He lay in bed, sweating and shivering at the same time. From the other room came first the sounds of Hawkeye and Hot Lips, and then the disc jockey on WKRP, that wild and crazy Cincinnati radio station. An announcer's voice came on, extolled Ginsu knives, gave an 800 number, and informed those Colorado watchers who had simply been panting for a good set of Ginsu knives that operators were standing by. Paul Sheldon was also standing by. She reappeared promptly when the clock in the other room struck 8, with 2 capsules and a glass of water. He hoisted himself eagerly on his elbows as she sat on the bed. I finally got your new book 2 days ago, she told him, eyes tinkling in the glass. It was a maddening sound. Misery's Child. I love it. It's as good as all the rest. Better. The best. Thank you, he managed. He could feel the sweat standing out on his forehead. Please. My legs. Very painful. I knew she would marry Ian, she said, smiling dreamily. And I believe Jeffrey and Ian will become friends again eventually. Do they? But immediately she said, no, don't tell. I want to find out for myself. I'm making it last. It always seems so long before there's another one. The pain throbbed in his legs, made a deep steel circlet around his crotch. He had touched himself down there, and he thought his pelvis was intact, but it felt twisted and weird. Below his knees, it felt as if nothing was intact. He didn't want to look. He could see the twisted, lumpy shapes outlining in the bedclothes, and that was enough. Please, Miss Wilkes, the pain. Call me Annie, all my friends do. She gave him the glass. It was cool and beaded with moisture. She kept the capsules. The capsules in her hand were the tide. She was the moon, and she had brought the tide, which would cover the pilings. She brought them toward his mouth, which he immediately dropped open, and then she withdrew them. I took the liberty of looking in your little bag. You don't mind, do you? No, of course not. The medicine. The beads of sweat on his forehead felt alternately hot and cold. Was he going to scream? He thought perhaps he was. I see there's a manuscript in there, she said. She held the capsules in her right hand, which she now slowly tilted. They fell into her left hand. His eyes followed them. It's called Fast Cars. Not a misery novel, I know that. She looked at him with a faint disapproval, but, as before, it was mixed with love. It was a maternal look. Cat, can you not? What? Thank you. No cars in the 19th century, fast or otherwise. She tittered at this small joke. I also took the liberty of glancing through it. You don't mind, do you? Please, he moaned. No, but please. Her left hand tilted, the capsules rolled, hesitated, then fell back into her right hand with a minute clicking sound. And if I read it, you wouldn't mind if I read it? No. His bones were shattered, his legs filled with festering shards of broken glass. No, he made something he hoped was a smile. No, of course not. Because I would never presume to do such a thing without your permission, she said earnestly. I respect you too much. In fact, well, I love you. She crimsoned suddenly and alarmingly. One of the capsules dropped from her hand on the coverlet. Paul snatched at it, but she was quicker. He moaned, but she did not notice. After grabbing the capsule, she went vague again. He looked toward the window. Your mind, she said. Your creativity. That is all I meant. In desperation, because it was the only thing he could think of, he said, I know. You're my #1 fan. She did not just warm up at the time. She lit up. That's it, she cried. That's it exactly. And you wouldn't mind if I read it in that spirit, would you? Spirit of fan love. Even though I don't like your other books as well as the misery stories. No, he said and closed his eyes. No, turn the pages of the manuscript into paper hats if you want. Just please. I'm dying in here. You're good, she said gently. I knew you would be. Just reading your books, I knew you would be. A man who could think of Misery Chastain, first think of her, and then breathe life into her, could be nothing else. Her fingers were in his mouth suddenly, shockingly intimate and dirtily welcome. He sucked the capsules from between them and swallowed even before he could fumble the spilling glass of water to his mouth. Just like a baby, she said, but he couldn't see her because his eyes were still closed, and now he felt the sting of tears. But good. There's so much I want to ask you, so much I want to know. The springs creaked as she got up. "We are going to be very happy here," he said, although a bolt of horror ripped into his heart. Paul still did not open his eyes. Chapter 8. He drifted. The tide came in, and he drifted. The TV played in the other room for a while, and then didn't. Sometimes the clock chimed, and he tried to count the chimes, but he kept getting lost between. IV. Through tubes. That's what those marks on your arms are. He got up on one elbow and pawed for the lamp and finally got it turned on. He looked at his arms, and in the folds of his elbow, he saw fading, overlapping shades of purple and ochre. A hole filled with black blood at the center of each bruise. He lay back, looking at the ceiling, listening to the wind. He was near the top of the Great Divide in the heart of winter. He was with a woman who was not right in her head, a woman who had fainted with IV drips when he was unconscious. A woman who had an apparently never-ending supply of dope. A woman who had told no one he was there. These things were important, but he began to realize that something else was more important. The tide was going out again. He began to wait for the sound of her alarm clock upstairs. It would not go off for some long while yet, but it was time for him to start waiting for it to be time. She was crazy, but he needed her. "Oh, I am in so much trouble," he thought, and stared blindingly up at the ceiling as the droplets of sweat began to gather on his forehead again. Chapter 9. The next morning, she brought him more soup and told him she had read 40 pages of what she called his manuscript book. She told him she didn't think it was as good as his others. It's hard to follow. It keeps jumping back and forth in time. Technique, he said. He was somewhere between hurting and not hurting, and so he was able to think a little better about what she was saying. Technique, that's all it is, the subject. The subject dictates the form. In some vague way, he supposed that such tricks of the trade might interest, even fascinate her. God knew they had fascinated the attendees of the writers' workshops, to whom he had sometimes lectured when he was younger. The boy's mind, you see, is confused, and so... Yes, he's very confused, and that makes him less interesting. Not uninteresting. I'm sure you could create an uninteresting character, but less interesting. And the profanity. Every other word is that F word. It has... She ruminated, feeding him the soup automatically, wiping his mouth when he dribbled almost without looking. The way an experienced typist rarely looks at the keys, so he came to understand, effortlessly, that she had been a nurse. Not a doctor. Oh no. Doctors would not know when the dribbles would come, or be able to forecast the course of each with such nice exactitude. The forecaster in charge of that storm had been half as good at his job as Annie Wilkes is at hers. I would not be in this fucking jam, he thought bitterly. It has no nobility, she cried suddenly, jumping and almost spilling beef barley soup on his white, upturned face. Yes, he said patiently. I understand what you mean, Annie. It's true that Tony Bolsonaro has no nobility. He's a slum kid trying to get out of a bad environment, you see. And those words, everybody uses those words, and they do not, she said, giving him a forbidding look. What do you think I do when I go to the feed store in town? What do you think I say? Now, Tony, give me a bag of that effing pig feed, a bag of that bitchly cow corn, and some of that Christing earmite medicine. And what do you think he says to me? You're effing right, Annie, coming right the F up. She looked at him, her face now like a sky which might spawn tornadoes in an instant. He lay back, frightened. The soup bowl was tilting in her hands. One, then 2 drops fell on the coverlid. And then do I go down the street to the bank and say to Mrs. Bollinger, here's one big bastard of a check. You better give me $50 effing dollars just as effing quick as you can. Do you think that when they put me up here on the stand and that a stream of muddy-colored beef soup fell on the coverlet? She looked at it, then at him, and her face twisted. There, look what you made me do. I'm sorry. Sure you are, she screamed and threw the bowl into the corner, where it shattered. Soup splashed up the wall. He gasped. She turned off then. She just sat there for what might have been 30 seconds. During that time, Paul Sheldon's heart did not seem to beat at all. She roused, a little at a time, and suddenly she tittered. I have such a temper, she said. I'm sorry, he said out of a dry throat. You should be. cat.
Father Campbell.
The cat. She has absconded with my bookmark. To throw thing into book. Game.
No. Just fold the corner.
No.
I see scratch marks.
Mars, that is a crime. Folding the corner. How dare you? I will not hear of such heresy. Eh.
Good shit, good shit.
Oh, this gen is already half. There's a bunch of people here.
They're getting back on it, it looks like.
Probably.
Three, two, one.
Oh, you...
I'll teach you to try and do the gen.
The last 2 times you've done that, you did one and then hit, and not hit on one. So it took me by surprise. Oh.
I'm just coming behind you, dodging all these generators.
Oh my gosh.
Aw, son of a bitch. The sable's kicking my ass. Yeah, this sable's kicking my ass. I gotta drop Chase.
Yeah, I'll try
I'm
and
dropping
take her.
Chase.
Never mind, I found the heal party. Good shit, let's fucking go. This Steve's smarter than some of the others.
Shack pallet's gone for now.
This fucking Steve. He teabagged when he got the vault as if I didn't anticipate it and walked around to fucking cut him off. Oh my god, that was fantastic. Holy
main.
shit.
Main is almost done.
Wow, I was just there.
You're undetectable, by the way.
Yeah, I got the baggy Steve again. He's one of their medics.
What? It did no sound. need help with this sable.
Okay. I just wanted to get baggy, Steve. Got it.
I see 2 people on the run over here. I'm gonna go intercept.
I've got 2 people trying to do one here, so I'm gonna get one of them.
Check. No progress. Well, there's some progress, just not a lot.
Yeah.
We got 2 people over here.
Okay, I've got Sable.
Okay. I'm going for Steve.
Well, he's dead.
Teabagging Steve.
Yep.
He didn't last long.
No, he doesn't.
He disconnected.
Oh man, that's hilarious.
Like, fuck this shit, I'm out. I see scratch marks over here.
Oh my gosh. These guys aren't going for saves for some reason.
I got a flashlight save on me.
Rip.
Oh god. Three, 2, 1. That was the person who tried the flashlight with a flashlight save last time.
Mm-hmm. Hey, hatches.
Hatches are open.
1.
There's one on the hill.
Okay. I'll grab it.
If you want to get it, it's on your side. I see scratch marks. Found Michaela.
I see her. I closed both hatches in this area. Oh, third one. Jeej. My turn. Bonk, bonk, bonk.
Don't worry, lobotomize her first.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, how are you gonna teabag and then just run away and disconnect?
Have a good night, Lee. Yeah,
I don't
the Steve bagged every time, regardless of how poorly he was doing. It was quite the experience.
He didn't even stun me with the pound. He like pre-dropped the pound, then he like mashed the teabag. I was like,
Yeah.
what are you doing?
That's what happened in Maine. He vaulted the stairs one, that's sometimes blocked. You know, from the outside.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And I was already inside, and he bagged and then ran into a dead end. Oh man, that was funny. That was funny as hell. Now do I get interrupted by a fluff again? That's my lamp. These actually aren't too bad. I'm sorry, he said, out of a dry throat. You should be. Her face went slack again, and she looked moodily at the wall. He thought she was going to blank out again, but instead she fetched a sigh and lifted her bulk from the bed. You don't have any need to use such words in the misery books. Guess they didn't use such words at all back then. They weren't even invented. Animal times demand animal words. I suppose that was a better time. You ought to stick to your misery stories, Paul. I say that sincerely as your #1 fan. She went to the door and looked back at him. I'll put that manuscript book back in your bag and finish Misery's Child. I may go back to the other one later when I'm done. Don't do that if it makes you mad, he said. He tried to smile. I'd rather not have you mad. I sort of depend on you, you know. She did not return his smile. Yes, she said. You do. You do, don't you, Paul? She left. Chapter 10. The tide went out. The pilings were back. He began to wait for the clock to chime. 2 chimes. The chimes came. He lay propped up on the pillows, watching the door. She came in. She was wearing an apron over her cardigan and one of her skirts. In one hand, she held a floor bucket. I suppose you want your cock-a-doodle medication, she said. Yes, please. He tried to smile at her ingratiatingly, and felt that shame again. He felt grotesque to himself. A stranger. I have it, she said. But first I have to clean up the mess in the corner. The mess you made. You'll have to wait until I do that. He lay in the bed with his legs making shapes like broken branches under the coverlet, and a cold sweat running down his face in little slow creaks. He lay and watched as she crossed to the corner and set the bucket down, then began to pick up the pieces of the bowl and took them out and came back and knelt by the bucket and fished in it and brought out a soapy rag and wrung it out and began to wash the dried soup from the wall. He lay and watched, and at last he began to shiver, and the shivering made the pain worse, but he could not help it. Once she turned around and saw him shivering and soaking the bedclothes in sweat, she favored him with such a sly, knowing smile that he could have easily killed her. It's dried on, she said, turning her face back to the corner. I'm afraid this is going to take a while, Paul. She scrubbed, the stains slowly disappearing from the plaster. But she went on dipping the cloth, wringing it out, scrubbing, and then repeating the whole process. He could not see her face, but the idea, the certainty that she had gone blank and might go on scrubbing the wall for hours tormented him. At last, just before the clock chimed once, marking 2:30, she got up and dropped the rag into the water, took the bucket from the room without a word. He lay in bed, listening to the creaking boards which marked her heavy, stolid passage, listening as she poured the water out of her bucket, and, incredibly, the sound of the faucet as she drew more. He began to cry soundlessly. The tide had never gone out so far. He could see nothing but drying mud flats and those splintered pilings which cast their eternal damaged shadows. She came back and stood for just a moment inside the doorway, observing his wet face with that same mixture of sternness and maternal love. Then her eyes drifted to the corner where no sign of the splashed soup remained. Now I must rinse, she said, or else the soap will leave a dull spot. I must do it all. I must make everything right. Living alone as I do is no excuse, whatever, for scamping the job. My mother had a motto, Paul, and I live by it. Once nasty, never need, she used to say. Please, he groaned. Please, the pain. I'm dying. No, you're not dying. I'll scream, he said, beginning to cry harder. It hurt to cry. It hurt his legs, and it hurt his heart. I won't be able to help it. Then scream, she said. But remember that you made that mess, not me. It's nobody's fault but your own. Somehow, he was able to keep from screaming. He watched as she dipped and wrung and rinsed, dipped and wrung and rinsed. At last, just as the clock in what he assumed was the parlor began to strike 3, she rose and picked up the bucket. She's going to go out now. She's going to go out, and I'll hear her pouring the rinse water down the sink, and maybe she won't come back for hours, because maybe she's not done punishing me yet. But instead of leaving, she walked over to the bed and fished in her apron pocket. She brought out not 2 capsules, but 3. Here, she said tenderly. He gobbled them into his mouth, and when he looked up, he saw her lifting the yellow plastic floor bucket toward him. It filled his field of vision like a falling moon. Grayish water slopped over the rim and onto the coverlid. Wash them down with this, she said. Her voice was still tender. He stared at her. His face was all eyes. Do it, she said. I know you can dry swallow them, but please believe me when I say I can make them come right back up again. After all, it's only rinse water. It won't hurt you. She leaned over him like a monolith, the bucket slightly tipped. He could see the rag twisting slowly in its dark depths like a drowned thing. He could see a thin scrum of soap on top. Part of him groaned, but none of him hesitated. He drank quickly, washing the pills down, and the taste in his mouth was as it had been on the occasions when his mother made him brush his teeth with soap. His belly hitched and he made a thick sound. I wouldn't throw them up, Paul. No more until 9 tonight. She looked at him for a moment with a flat, empty gaze, and then her face lit up and she smiled. You won't make me mad again, will you? No, he whispered. Anger the moon which brought the tide? What an idea. What a bad idea. I love you, she said, and kissed him on the cheek. She left, not looking back, carrying the floor bucket the way a sturdy countrywoman might carry a milk pail, slightly away from her body with no thought at all so that none would spill. He lay back, tasting grit and plaster in his mouth and throat, tasting soap. I won't throw up. Won't throw up. Won't throw up. At last, the urgency of this thought began to fade, and he realized he was going to sleep. He had held everything down long enough for the medication to begin its work. He had won. This time. Chapter 11. He dreamed he was being eaten by a bird. It was not a good dream. There was a bang, he thought. Yes, good, all right, shoot it. Shoot the goddamn thing. Then he was awake, knowing it was only Annie Wilkes pulling the back door shut. She had gone out to do the chores. He heard the dim crunch of her footsteps in the snow. She went past his window, wearing a parka with the hood up. Her breath plumed out, then broke apart on her moving face. She didn't look in at him, intent on her chores in the barn, he supposed. Feeding the animals, cleaning the stalls, maybe casting a few runes. He wouldn't put it past her. The sky was darkening purple. Sunset. 5:30, maybe 6 o'clock. The tide was still in, and he could have gone back to sleep, wanted to go back to sleep. But he had to think about this bizarre situation while he was still capable of something like rational thought. The worst thing he was discovering was that he didn't want to think of it even while he could, even when he knew he could not bring the situation to an end without thinking about it. His mind kept trying to push it away, like a child pushing away his meal, even though he has been told he cannot leave the table unless he has eaten it. He didn't want to think about it because just living it was hard enough. He didn't want to think about it because whenever he did, unpleasant images intervened. The way she went blank, the way she made him think of idols and stones, and now the way the yellow plastic floor bucket had sped toward his face like a crashing moon. Thinking of those things would not change his situation. It was in fact worse than not thinking at all. But once he turned his mind to Annie... Oh. There's a sneeze coming. Oh. But once he turned his mind to Annie Wilkes and his position here in her house, they were the thoughts that came crowding out all others. His heart would start to beat too fast, mostly in fear, but partly in shame, too. He saw himself putting his lips to the rim of the yellow floor bucket, saw the rinse water with its film of soap and the rag floating in it, saw these things, but drank anyway, never hesitating a bit. He would never tell anyone about that, assuming he ever got out of this. And he supposed he might try to lie about it to himself, but he would never be able to do it. Yet, miserable or not, and he was, he still wanted to live. Think about it, goddammit. Jesus Christ, are you already so code that you can't even try? No, but almost that code. Then an odd, angry thought occurred to him. She doesn't like the new book because she's too stupid to understand what it's up to. thought wasn't just odd. Under the circumstances, how she felt about fast cars was totally immaterial. But thinking about the things she had said was at least a new avenue, and feeling angry at her was better than feeling scared of her. So he went down it with some eagerness. Too stupid? No. Too set. Not just unwilling to change, but antagonistic to the very idea of change. Yes, and while she might be crazy, was she so different in her evaluation of his work from the hundreds of thousands of other people across the country? 90% of the women who could barely wait for each new 500-page episode in the turbulent life of the foundling who had risen to marry a peer of the realm. No, not at all. They wanted misery, misery, misery. Each time he had taken a year or two off to write one of the other novels, what he thought of as his serious work, with what was at first certainty and then hope, and finally a species of grim desperation.
The corn. The corn.
Oh,
It
God.
beckons me.
That's just Kansas. Scratch marks. Vittorio, I see you.
Gotta grab.
Good shit.
You're undetectable.
Yeah. Hmm. There we go.
That was some good shit.
Yeah, she took that so wide to get the fast vault that she didn't think about taking it in tight to get the medium in time.
You're undetectable again?
Yeah, no worries. I'm usually cloaked when it goes off, so it's fine. Nice.
I'm kind of an ass because they just got uncaged, but if you're gonna heal in front of a death slinger, that's what you gotta expect.
Yeah. Oh, there's 3 in this corner. 4.
On my way.
Like there's a ton of them being little rats.
Oh shit. I want to check this corner. No one's back here. They're being stealthy stealths in this game.
Oh my gosh. I pre-swung so early.
Where are you at? There you are.
There's 2.
Okay. I'm going after the healthy one.
Cool. Damn.
I'm being teabagged. Corn harvester's almost done.
Okay, I'll head that way. Mid-gen's also almost done.
I might get the corn harvester before it finishes. Looks like I do.
I gave her 0 hesitation, so she wasn't expecting me to swing straight through. And I knew she was dead, so... having a dead one this early is huge. Headed to that gen.
You're undetectable.
Thing's just hard pre-throwing everything, so... Oof, alright. Got 2.
Undetectable again.
And boop. Good.
Hello, teabagger. Goodbye, teabagger.
Found a Claude.
Damn.
Oh wow, she didn't throw it. I kind of expected her to. Good shit.
And
Oh my gosh. I don't know what that
you got
was.
him.
Yeah, she didn't even try to go to a pallet, so easy.
Someone's at the corn harvester, I'm pretty sure. I saw Vittorio come over here. I don't know where he went.
No progress on the gen, so I can't kick it for info. Ah, he probably ran around and then came in here. This is Meg.
Get back over here.
It's almost
hatches
hatch
are
time.
open.
Not yet. Just almost.
I found a fang.
Okay. Now they're open.
I think it's a pre-dropped fang.
Yeah.
Hey, you have undetectable?
Okay, I got the hatch closed that was in the area, so you should be fine.
There's scratch marks over here.
Yeah, I got a second hatch closed. Found her, found her.
Okay. I'm gonna go pick up this person.
Third hatch closed. We got him. I'm just gonna murder her. So we can go next. Oh, accidentally can see through the floor. That's wacky. Whee! Looks like Vit was their best teammate.
Yeah, he was doing a lot of healing.
Ah. And he was probably supporting on gens a lot. Since they were down to the last one.
Let's switch it up. Nurse or Blight?
How about I take Nurse, you take Blight?
Sure, I'll take Blight. What class are you gonna want to do?
I think. Do you want to do Shadow or should I?
I feel like Shadow Blight is scarier than Shadow Nurse because you have to get really close for Nurse.
Okay, how about I go Brute so that I can get some extra aura when kicking gens.
Okay. And I'll do Shadow, and you still be undetectable sometimes.
Yeah, and then
but I can rush around
also
the map a lot quicker.
yeah, and then if I break pallets near you or just break anything near you, you'll get extra haste, which on Blight is kind of disgusting. So I think that works.
Oh no, I gotta chase survivors for 150 seconds. That's a lot of time.
I thought you were gonna say that's a lot
I
of
wish
seconds.
I had. My Blight is ugly. I want to make him pretty, but I don't got the money to make him pretty right now.
Okay, my Nurse is just blue.
My Nurse is pretty.
I've been trying to make an outfit with the scythe, but with like a different headpiece because I don't like the hood, but I haven't figured out one
I
that
don't
I
like
like.
the skeletal hands.
I don't mind the skeletal hands so much.
My go-to Nurse cosmetic is... Oh, it doesn't do the... Oh no, it's good. It still says it's looking for matches the Blight.
Yeah.
But it says we can't start a match with the same killer on your screen, too.
Yeah, that's weird. I don't know. I think I'll go with...
I'll switch back.
I think I'll go with this outfit.
This is my usual outfit. It's the consumed uniform outfit and the toxic love head.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, if you go to the Blight, I don't know if you have my stream up, but it says William Birkin is not available in this modifier.
Maybe because of his unique voice lines.
Maybe. I think I'll just save up and get Crustacean Blight. Anyways, to your reading.
Mm. A lot of people think it's a contract issue, so who knows? Couldn't find anything specifically that said exactly what. All right. Each time he had taken a year or two off to write one of the other novels, what he thought of as his serious work, with what was at first certainty and then hope and finally a species of grim desperation, he had received a flood of protesting letters from these women, many of whom signed themselves your #1 fan. The tone of these letters varied from bewilderment, that always hurt the most, somehow, to reproach, to outright anger, but the message was always the same. It wasn't what I was expecting. It wasn't what I wanted. Please go back to Misery. I want to know what Misery is doing. He could write a modern Under the Volcano, Tests of the Dumvervilles, The Sword and the Fury, but it wouldn't matter. They would still want Misery, Misery, Misery. It's hard to follow. It's not interesting. And the profanity. The anger sparked again. Anger at her obdurate density. Anger that she could actually kidnap him, keep him prisoner here, force him into a choice between drinking dirty rinse water from a floor bucket or suffering the pain of his shattered legs, and then, on top of all that, find the nerve to criticize the best thing he had ever written. Bugger you and the F word you wrote it on, he said. And suddenly he felt better again. He felt himself again, even though he knew this rebellion was petty and pitiful and meaningless. She was in the barn where she couldn't hear him, and the tide was safely in over the splintered pilings. Still, he remembered her coming in here, withholding the capsules, coercing permission to read the manuscript of Fast Cars. He felt a flush of shame and humiliation warming his face, but now they were mixed with real anger. It had bloomed from a spark into a tiny, sunken flame. He had never shown anyone a manuscript before he had proofread it and then retyped it. Never. Not even Bryce, his agent. Never. Why, he didn't even... For a moment, his thoughts broke off cleanly. He could hear the dim sound of a cow mooing. Why, he didn't even make a copy until the second draft was done. The manuscript copy of Fast Cars, which was now in Annie Wilkes' possession, was, in fact, the only existing copy in the whole world. He had even burned his notes. 2 years of hard work. She didn't like it, and she was crazy. Misery is what she liked. Misery was who she liked, not some foul-talking little spick car thief from Spanish Harlem. He remembered thinking, turn the pages of the manuscript into paper hats if you want, just please. The anger and humiliation surged again, awakening the first dull answering throb in his legs. Yes, the work, the pride in your work, the worth of the work itself, all those things faded away to the magic lantern shades they really were when the pain got bad enough. That she would do that to him, that she could, when he had spent most of his adult life thinking the word writer was the most important definition of himself, made her seem utterly monstrous, something he must escape. She really was an idol, and if she didn't kill him, she might kill what was in him. Now he heard the eager squeal of the pig. She had thought he would mind, but he thought Misery was a wonderful name for a pig. He remembered how she had imitated it, the way her upper lip had wrinkled toward her nose, how her cheeks had seemed to flatten, how she actually looked like a pig for a moment. From the barn, her voice. Sweet pig, pig, pig. He lay back, put his arm over his eyes, and tried to hold on to the anger, because the anger made him feel brave. A brave man could think. A coward couldn't. Here was a woman who had been a nurse. He was sure of that. Was she still a nurse? No, because she did not go to work. Why did she no longer practice her trade? That seemed obvious. Not all her gear was stowed right. Lots of it was rolling around in the holds. If it was obvious to him, even through the haze of pain he had been living in, it would surely have been obvious to her colleagues. And he had a little extra information on which to judge just how much of her gear wasn't stowed right, didn't he? I couldn't. I thought you went to bed. She had dragged him from the wreck of his car, and instead of calling the police or an ambulance, she had installed him in her guest room, put IV drips in his arms, and a shitload of dope in his body. Enough so he had gone into what she called respiratory depression at least once. She had told no one he was here, and if she hadn't by now, that meant she didn't mean to. Would she have behaved in the same fashion if it had been Joe Blow from Kokomo she had hauled out of the wreck? No. No, he didn't think so. She had kept him because he was Paul Shelton, and she's my #1 fan, he muttered, put an arm over his eyes. An awful memory bloomed there in the dark. His mother had taken him to the Boston Zoo, and he had been looking at a great big bird. It had the most beautiful feathers, red and purple and royal blue, that he had ever seen, and the saddest eyes. He had asked his mother where the bird came from, and she said Africa. And he had understood that it was doomed to die in the cage where it lived, far away from wherever God had meant it to be. And he cried, and his mother bought him an ice cream cone, and for a while he had stopped crying. Then he remembered and started again, and so she had taken him home, telling him as they rode the trolley back to Lynn that he was a ball baby and a sissy. Its feathers. Its eyes. The throbbing in his legs began to cycle up. No, no, no. He pressed the crook of his elbow more tightly against his eyes. From the barn, he could hear spaced, thudding noises. Impossible to tell what they were, of course, but in his imagination. Your mind, your creativity, that is all I meant. See her pushing bales of hay out of the loft with the heel of her boot. See them tumbling to the barn floor. Africa. That bird came from Africa. Then, cutting cleanly through like a sharp knife, came her agitated, almost screaming voice. Do you think that when they put me up there on the stand when they put me up on the stand in Denver, you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I don't know where he gets it. I do. He's always writing things like this down. State your name. Nobody on my side of the family had an imagination like his. Annie Wilkes. So vivid. My name is Annie Wilkes. He willed her to say more. She would not. Come on, he muttered, his arms over his eyes. This was the way he thought best, the way he imagined best. His mother liked to tell Mrs. Mulvaney on the other side of the fence what a marvelous imagination he had, so vivid, and what wonderful little stories he was always writing down, except, of course, when she was calling him a sissy and a ball baby. Come on, come on, come on. See the courtroom in Denver. See Annie Wilkes on the stand, not wearing jeans now, but a rusty purple-black dress and an awful hat. You could see the courtroom was crowded with spectators, and the judge was bald and wearing glasses. The judge had a white mustache. There was a birthmark beneath the white mustache. White mustache covered most of it, but not quite all. Annie Wilkes. Read at just 3. Can you imagine? Spirit of fan love. He's always writing things down, making things up. Now I must rinse. Africa. That bird came from. Come on, he whispered. He could get no further. The bailiff asked her to state her name, and over again she said it was Annie Wilkes, but she said no more. She sat there with her fibrous, solid, ominous body displacing air, and her name over and over again, but no more than that. Still trying to imagine why the ex-nurse who had taken him prisoner might have once been put on the stand in Denver, Paul drifted off to sleep. Chapter 12. He was in a hospital ward. Great relief swept through him. So great he felt like crying. Something had happened when he was asleep. Someone had come, or perhaps Annie had had a change of heart or mind. It didn't matter. He had gone to sleep in the monster woman's house and had awakened in the hospital. But surely they would not have put him in a long ward like this. It was as big as an airplane hangar. Identical rows of men with identical bottles of nutrient hung from identical IV trays beside their beds filled the place. He sat up and saw the men themselves were also identical. They were all him. Then distantly, he heard the clock chime and understood that it was chiming from beyond the wall of sleep. This was a dream. Sadness replaced the relief. The door at the far end of the huge ward opened, and in came Annie Wilkes. Only she was dressed in a long aproned dress, and there was a mob cap on her head. She was dressed as Misery Chastain in Misery's Love. Over one arm, she held a wicker basket. There was a towel over the contents. She folded the towel back as he watched. Okay, there we go. Got him. There's your speed. Cyber, hey yo, what's up? Beautiful. Just got off work. Nice. Man, they are knocking these out like crazy. I'm doing all right. Had a migraine earlier. Had to sleep that off, so started late today. There we go. Beautiful. Hi, Thunderstar. Oh, too far. Oopsie daisy. Wow. Those are some crazy fast gens. I'm also very out of practice with Nurse, so, you know. There we go. I'm doing all right. This match is a little rough, but you know, it happens. Oop. Oh my god, game. I thought you were actually gonna hit him. Well. Yeah, I'm definitely very out of practice with Nurse. The headache does not help. Perhaps I swap back to Wraith. Mars, did you accidentally mute yourself? Yes.
Yes, I did. Shut up. No, we got wrecked. How long was I muted for?
The whole match. Oh god, it's the first time
sweet.
I've seen a bot in forever. Bye.
No, we got royally stopped that match, and I'm not too good at Blight. That's why I was just like, just switch characters.
Yeah, I thought you like had at least some knowledge of playing Blight, because I'm really bad with Blight.
Good at Blight, not on Corn though. I lost so many survivors in the Corn. And they gen rushed the shit out of us too.
True. Those gens were flying.
Like all 8 survivors were on different gens, and we just couldn't keep up.
Yeah. Even with the gen speed reduction, which is nutty. Like, that last gen must have been so slow and painful.
Yeah, we got stomped. I forgot I muted while you were reading a book, and I never unmuted, so it's me.
Alright. I think one more, and then I am gonna go to bed. Because it is just shy of 1 a.m.
Sleep is for the week.
I am weak. And also migraine brain. And I'm hungry. Anyway. But he folded the towel back as he watched. He reached in and took out a handful of something and flung it into the face of the first sleeping Paul Sheldon. It was sand, he saw. This was Annie Wilkes pretending to be Misery Chastain, pretending to be the Sandman. Woman. Then he saw the first Paul Sheldon's face had turned a ghastly white as soon as the sand struck it, and fear jerked him out of the dream and into the bedroom where Annie Wilkes was standing over him. He was holding the fat paperback of Misery's Child in one hand. The bookmark suggested she was about 3/4 of the way through. "You were moaning," she said. "I had a bad dream." What was it about? The first thing, which was not the truth that popped into his head, was what he replied. Africa. 13. She came in late the following morning, her face the color of ashes. He had been dozing, but he came awake at once, jerking up on his elbows. "Miss Wilkes? Annie, are you all right?" "No." "Christ, she's had a heart attack," he thought. And there was a moment of alarm which was immediately replaced by joy. Let her have one, a big one, a fucking chest buster. He would be more than happy to crawl to the telephone, no matter how much it might hurt. He would crawl to the telephone over broken glass if that was what it took. And it was a heart attack, but not the right kind. She came toward him, not quite staggering, but rolling, the way a sailor will when he's just gotten off his ship at the end of a long voyage. What? He tried to shrink away from her. There was no place to go. There was only the headboard, and behind that, the wall. No! She reached the side of the bed, bumped it, wavered, and for a moment seemed on the verge of falling on top of him, when she just stood there, looking down at him over her paper-white face, the cords of her neck standing out, one vein pulsing into the center of her forehead. Her hands snapped open, hooked shut onto solid, rock-like fists, then snapped open again. You dirty bird. What? I don't... But suddenly, he did, and his entire midsection first seemed to turn hollow, then to entirely disappear. He remembered where her bookmark had been last night, 3/4 of the way. She had finished it. She knew all there was to know. She knew that Misery hadn't been the barren one after all. It had been Ian. Had she sat there in her as-yet unseen by him parlor with her mouth open and her eyes wide as Misery finally realized the truth and made her decision and sneaked off to Jeffrey? Had her eyes filled with tears when she realized that Misery and Jeffrey, far from having a clandestine affair behind the back of the man they both loved, were giving him the greatest gift they could, a child he would believe to be his own? And had her heart risen up when Misery told Ian she was pregnant, and Ian had crushed her to him, tears flowing from his eyes, muttering, "My dear, oh, my dear," over and over again? He was sure in those few seconds that all those things had happened, but instead of weeping with exalted grief, as she should have done when Misery expired, giving birth to the boy whom Ian and Jeffrey would presumably raise together, he was mad as hell. "She can't be dead," Annie Wilkes shrieked at him. Her hands snapped open and hooked closed in a faster and faster rhythm. "Misery Chastain cannot be dead. Annie, please." There was a glass water pitcher on the table. She seized it up and brandished it at him. Cold water splashed his face. An ice cube landed beside his left ear and slid down the pillow into the hollow of his shoulder. In his mind, so vivid, he saw her bringing the pitcher down to his face. He saw himself dying of a fractured skull and a massive cerebral hemorrhage and a freezing flood of ice water while goose pimples formed on his arms. He wanted to do it. There was no question of that. At the very last moment, she pivoted away from him and flung the water pitcher at the door instead, where it shattered, as the soup bowl had the other day. She looked back at him and brushed her hair away from her face. 2 hard little spots of red had now bloomed on the white, with the backs of her hands. "Dirty bird," she panted. "Oh, you dirty birdie, how could you?" He spoke rapidly, urgently, eyes flashing, riveted to her face. He was positive that in that moment that his life might depend on what he was able to say in the next 20 seconds. "Annie, in 1871, women frequently died in childbirth. Misery gave her life for her husband and her best friend and her child. The spirit of misery will always..." "I don't want her spirit," she screamed, hooking her fingers into claws and shaking them at him, as if she would tear his eyes out. "I want her. You killed her. You murdered her." Her hands snapped shut into fists again, and she drove them down like pistons, one onto either side of his head. They punched deep in the pillow, and he bounced like a rag doll. His legs flared and cried out. "I didn't kill her," he screamed. She froze, staring at him with that narrow, black expression, that look of crevasse. "Of course not," she said, bitterly sarcastic. "And if you didn't, Paul Sheldon, who did?" "No one," he said more quietly. "She just died." Ultimately, he knew this to be the truth. If Misery Chastain had been a real person, he knew he might very well have been called upon to aid the police in their inquiries, as the euphemism went. After all, he had a motive. He had hated her. Ever since the third book, he had hated her. For April Fool's Day 4 years ago, he'd had a small booklet privately printed and sent it to a dozen close acquaintances. It had been called Misery's Hobby. In it, Misery spent a cheerful country weekend boffing Growler Ian's Irish setter. He might have murdered her, but he hadn't. In the end, in spite of his having grown to despise her, Misery's death had been something of a surprise to him. He had remained true enough to himself for art to imitate life, however feebly, to the end of Misery's hackneyed adventures. She had died a mostly unexpected death. His cheerful capering had in no way changed the fact. "You lie," Annie whispered. "I thought you were good. You are not good. You are just a lying old dirty birdie." She slipped away. That's all. Sometimes that happens. It was like life when someone just... She overturned the table by the bed. The one shallow drawer spilled out. His wristwatch and pocket change spilled out with it. He hadn't even known they were in there. He cringed back from her. "You must think I was born yesterday," she said. Her lips drew back from her teeth. "In my job, I saw dozens of people die. Hundreds. Now that I think about it, sometimes they go screaming and sometimes they go in their sleep. They just slip away, the way you said. Sure. But characters in stories do not just slip away. God takes us when he thinks it's time, and a writer is God to the people in a story. He made them up just like God made us up, and no one can get hold of God to make him explain. All right, okay, but as far as Misery goes, I'll tell you one thing, you dirty bird. I'll tell you that God just happens to have a couple of broken legs, and God just happens to be in my house eating my food, and..." She went blank then. She straightened up with her hands hanging limply by her sides, looking at the wall where an old photograph of the Arc de Triomphe was hung. She stood there, and Paul lay in his bed with round marks in the pillow beside his ears, and looked at her. He could hear the water which had been in the pitcher dripping on the floor, and it came to him that he could commit murder. This was a question which had occurred to him from time to time, strictly academic, of course. Only now it wasn't, and he had the answer. If she hadn't thrown the pitcher, he would have shattered it on the floor himself and tried to shove one of the broken pieces of glass into her throat while she stood there, as inert as an umbrella stand. He looked down into the pillage of the drawer, but there was only change, a pen, a comb, and his watch. No wallet. More important, no Swiss Army knife. She came back a little at a time, and the anger, at least, was gone. She looked down at him sadly. "I think I better go now. I don't think I better be around you for a while. I don't think it's wise." "Go? Where?" "It doesn't matter. A place I know. If I stay here, I'll do something unwise. I need to think. Goodbye, Paul." She strode across the room. "Will you be back to give me my medication?" he asked, alarmed. She grasped the doorknob and pulled the door shut without answering. For the first time, he heard the rattle of a key. He heard her footsteps going off down the hall. He winced as she cried out angrily, words he couldn't understand. "Oh my gosh, cat."
What about the key?
Remains to be seen.
I had like 50 keys. You're undetectable.
Oh my god, game. Hello?
I've got 3 injuries.
Here I am just trying to...
3, 2, 1, go.
There we go. Thank you.
Well, that was quick.
Yeah. Baited. I binged, so she thought I was gonna cloak and then just swung straight through at her.
3, 2, 1.
Oh my god.
Nice pallet save.
Oh, they have the vault this time. That sucks, actually. They're gonna finish Shack. Yep. Oh my gosh.
Now, if I'm not undetectable, as long as my power is charged, when I hit somebody, you get undetectable, right?
Huh? You're gonna have to run that by me again.
So if my power is charged, but I don't have undetectable, when I hit somebody, do you still get undetectable?
I do not know.
Okay. This gen back here is almost done. I was luckily able to spear and stop them.
Fucking shit, flashlight save. He's a scout, so he's entirely quiet.
Another pallet save.
Shit.
They've got good windows here.
Yeah. Damn. Yeah, having God window in 2v8 sucks. Got him. Wow. My God. He still got that guy dead.
I'll check this door over here. They opened it. I got them all to leave.
Okay. They saved Jake. I thought Jake was dead. I guess not. Oh, wow. He insta-save on that.
I've got 2 over here.
Okay, if you can spear
3.
one. Got him.
I got this one over here.
Okay, yep.
3, 2, 1, go.
Oh my gosh, game. Give me the fucking prompt. Wow.
They're by the other exit. Yep.
Yeah. Nothing we can do here. Got 2.
What a last game.
Oh man. Oh. Ugh, gosh.
That's our bouquet. It's like MMR is like, no.
Yeah. It's hard to know if we're going against a team or not. Or pre-made. Okay. I think I will read to you guys for a little bit more and then go to bed.
Fabulous.
Alright. That's a while until... Yeah, I'd have to read like twice as much as I've already read to get to the next like section. So I'm just gonna read to like page 50 or something. Maybe not even that long. Anyway. The first time he heard the rattle of a key, he heard her footsteps going off down the hall. He winced as she cried out angrily, words he couldn't understand. And something else fell and shattered. A door slammed. An engine cranked over, then started up. A low, crunching squeal of tires turning on packed snow. Now the motor sound began to go away. It dwindled to a snore and then to a drone, and was finally gone. He was alone. Alone in Annie Wilkes' house. Locked in this room, locked in this bed. The distance between here and Denver was like, well, the distance between the Boston Zoo and Africa. He lay in bed looking at the ceiling, his throat dry and his heart beating fast. After a while, the parlor clock chimed noon, and the tide began to go out. 14. 51 hours. He knew just how long because of the pen, the flare fine liner he had been carrying in his pocket at the time of the crash. He had been able to reach down and snag it. Every time the clock chimed, he made a mark on his arm. 4 vertical marks and then a diagonal slash to seal the quintet. When she came back, there were 10 groups of 5 and 1 extra. The little groups, neat at first, grew increasingly jagged as his hands began to tremble. He didn't believe he had missed a single hour. He had dozed, but never really slept. The chiming of the clock woke him each time the hour came around. After a while, he began to feel hunger and thirst. Even through the pain, it became something like a horse race. At first, King of Pain was far in the lead, and I Got the Hungries was some 12 furlongs back. Pretty Thirsty was nearly lost in the dust. Then, around sunup on the day after she had left, I Got the Hungries actually gave King of Pain a brief run for his money. He'd spent much of the night alternately dozing and waking in a cold sweat. Sure, he was dying. After a while, he began to hope he was dying. Anything to be out of it. He'd never had any idea how bad hurting could get. The pilings grew and grew. He could see the barnacles, which encrusted them. He could see pale, round things lying limply in the clefts of the wood. They were the lucky things. For them, the hurting was over. Around 3, he had lapsed into a bout of useless screaming. By noon of the second day, hour 24, he realized that as bad as the pain in his legs and pelvis was, something else was also making him hurt. It was withdrawal. Call this horse Junkie's Revenge if he wanted. He needed the capsules in more ways than one. He thought of trying to get out of bed, but the thought of the thump and drop and the accompanying escalation of pain constantly deterred him. He could imagine all too well. So vivid. How it would feel. He might have tried anyway, but she had locked the door. What could he do besides crawl across to it, snail-like, and lie there? In desperation, he pushed back the blankets with his hands for the first time, hoping against hope that it wasn't as bad as the shapes the blanket seemed to suggest it was. It wasn't as bad. It was worse. He stared with horror at what he had become below the knees. In his mind, he heard the voice of Ronald Reagan in King's Row, shrieking, "Where's the rest of me?" The rest of him was here, and he might get out of this. The prospects for doing so seemed even more remote, but he supposed it was technically possible. But he might well never walk again, and surely not until each of his legs had been rebroken, perhaps in several places, and pinned with steel and mercilessly overhauled, and subjected to 100 shriekingly painful indignities. He had splinted them. Of course, he had known that. He felt the rigid, ungiving shapes, but until now, he had not known what she had done it with. The lower parts of both legs were circled with slim steel rods that looked like the hacksawed remains of aluminum crutches. The rods had been strenuously taped so that from the knees down he looked a bit like Imhotep when he had been discovered in his tomb. The legs themselves meandered strangely up to his knees, turning outward here, jagged inward there. His left knee, a throbbing focus of pain, no longer seemed to exist at all. There was a calf and a thigh, and then a sickening bunch in the middle that looked like a salt dome. His upper legs were badly swollen and seemed to have bowed slightly outward. His thighs, crotch, even his penis were all still mottled with fading bruises. He had thought his lower legs might be shattered. That was not so, as it turned out. They had been pulverized. Moaning, crying, he pulled the blankets back up. No rolling out of bed. Better to lie here, die here. Better to accept this level of pain, terrific as it was, until all pain was gone. Around 4 o'clock the second day, Pretty Thirsty made its move. As he'd been aware of the dryness in his mouth and throat for a long time, but now it began to seem more urgent. His tongue felt thick, too large. Swallowing hurt. He began to think of the pitcher of water she had dashed away. He dozed, woke, dozed. Day passed away, night fell. He had to urinate. He laid the top sheet over him, hoping to create a crude filter, and urinated through it into his cupped and shaking hands. He tried to think of it as recycling and drank what he'd managed to hold and then licked his wet palms. Here was something else he reckoned he would not tell people about if he lived long enough to tell them anything. He began to believe she was dead. She was deeply unstable, and unstable people frequently took their own lives. He saw her, so vivid, pulling over to the side of the road in Old Bessie, taking a .44 from under the sheet and putting it in her mouth and shooting herself. "With misery dead, I don't want to live. Goodbye, cruel world," Annie cried through a rain of tears and pulled the trigger. He cackled, then moaned, then screamed. The wind screamed with him, but took no other notice. Or an accident. Is that possible? Oh, yes, sir. He saw her driving grimly, going too fast, and then, "He doesn't get it from my side of the family." Going blank and driving right off the side of the road, down and down and down, hitting once and bursting into a fireball, dying without even knowing it. She was dead. He would die in here. A rat in a dry trap. He kept thinking unconsciousness would come and relieve him, but unconsciousness declined. Instead, hour 30 came, and hour 40. Now, King of Pain and Pretty Thirsty were merged into one single horse. I Got the Hungries had been left in the dust long since, and he began to feel like nothing more than a slice of living tissue on a microscope slide, or worm on a hook. Something, anyway. twisted endlessly and waiting only to die. 15. When she came in, he thought at first that she must be a dream, but then reality, or mere brute survival, took over and he began to moan and beg and plead, all of it broken, all of it coming from a deepening well of unreality. One thing he saw clearly was that she was wearing a dark blue dress and a sprigged hat. It was exactly the sort of outfit he had imagined her wearing at the stand in Denver. Her color was high and her eyes sparkled with life and vivacity. She was as close to pretty as Annie Wilkes ever would be. And then he tried to remember that scene later. The only clear images he could be fixed upon were her flushed cheeks and the sprigged hat. Some final stronghold of sanity and evaluative clarity, a rational Paul Sheldon thought, she looks like a widow who just got fucked after a 10-year dry spell. In her hands, she held a glass of water, a tall glass of water. Take this, she said, and put a hand still cool from the out of doors on the back of his neck so he could sit up enough to drink without choking. He took 3 fast mouthfuls, the pores of the arid plain of his tongue widening and clamoring at the shock of the water, some of it spilling down his chin and onto the t-shirt he wore, and then she drew it away from him. He mewed for it, holding his shaking hands out. No, she said, no, Paul, a little at a time or you'll vomit. After a bit, she gave it back to him and allowed 2 more swallows. The stuff, he said, coughing. He sucked his lips and ran his tongue over them, then sucked his tongue. He could vaguely remember drinking his own piss, how hot it had been, how salty. The capsules. Pain. Please, Annie, please, for God's sake, help me. The pain, it's so bad. I know it is, but you must listen to me, said, looking at him with a stern yet maternal expression. I had to get away and think. I have thought deeply, and I hope I've thought well. I was not entirely sure. My thoughts are often muddy, I know that. I accept that. It's why I couldn't remember where I was all those times they kept asking me about. So I prayed. There is a God, you know, and he answers prayers. He always does. So I prayed. I said, Dear God, Paul Sheldon may be dead when I get back. But God said he will not be. I have spared him, so you may shoo him the way he must go. She said, shoo as... Brain? She said shoo as shoo. Okay. But Paul was barely hearing her anyway. His eyes fixed on the glass of water. She gave him another 3 swallows. He slurped like a horse, burped, then cried out as shudder cramps coursed through him. During all of this time, she looked at him benignly. I will give you your medication and relieve your pain, but first, you have a job to do. I'll be right back. She got up and headed for the door. No, he screamed. She took no notice at all. He lay in bed, cocooned in pain, trying not to moan, and moaning anyway. 16. At first, he thought he had lapsed into delirium. What he was seeing was too bizarre to be sane. When Annie returned, she was pushing a charcoal grill in front of her. Annie, I'm in terrible pain. Tears coursed down his cheeks. I know, my dear. She kissed his cheek, the touch of her lips as gentle as the fall of a feather. Soon, she left, and he looked stupidly at the charcoal grill, something meant for an outdoor summer patio which now stood in his room, calling up relentless images of idols and sacrifices. And sacrifice was what she had in mind, of course. When she came back, she was carrying the manuscript of Fast Cars, the only existing result of 2 years' work. In one hand, in the other, she had a box of diamond blue-tip wooden matches. And that is where I will leave you guys off. We'll probably continue tomorrow. So I'm having fun with this one.
Hell yeah.
And I hope you guys are too. I probably won't be highlighting this one like I am with the Odyssey, just because we've been doing it in between games, so it would be a wee bit difficult. But anyway, that is going to be it for me today, everybody. I really appreciate everyone sticking around, hanging out, and being here in general. We'll be back again tomorrow for some more shenanigans. I love you all so very, very much. Have a good one, everyone. Au revoir, and good night.